Today we're going to build an anvil stand out of this log. So something so satisfying about taking bark off. And when you think about that, it's a pretty compelling argument. Now we got that thick bark off of there, you can see these knots here, they're sticking out again. Or they're sticking out, they're pretty proud off the body of the log. So we'll take our chainsaw and we'll cut these down flush again. We want to get these cut down flush so they don't interfere with our super secret method of cutting a perfect 90 on here. So let's trim those back down one more time. All right, that looks better. We got those knobs out there. We want this to be pretty uniform here. You'll see why here in a minute. So I'll take multiple facets off these, make sure I don't have a high side sticking up. But we got back there 3 feet or so, and we got a nice, as round a log as it can be. So why is this so important? Well, how do you measure it? How do you determine what's a true 90? What's a straight cut off of here? You can't use a square. There's nothing to measure against. There's no reference point because it's a crooked old log with no two sides that are the same. So we need something that's uniform that can give us a definitive line to cut against. I got a roll of butcher paper here. Now I've never done this before, but I do remember reading about something like this in an old carpenter's magazine or a carpenter's book on using this technique. So we'll try it together here. See how the sides come together all the way? They're all along here. Same on this other side. What does that tell us? That tells us we have a perfect cylinder around here now. We've got a reference point. So we've got a can of cheap rattle can, Home Depot, 99 cents. And what we'll do is we'll hold our nozzle about 4 inches above this, straight up, and we'll paint all the way around this, remove the paper, and we have our line to cut against. Let's see how that worked there. What's wrong with that? Those old timers, those guys are pretty smart. Now when I cut this originally, I tried my hardest to cut it square because I knew I wanted a square edge on it. Let's see how you do when you're on the eyeball. So right there you can see we've got 2 inches to the line. We go here on top at 12 o'clock. Well, I mean, it just so happened that it is 2 inches, but I only because I probably got lucky. Yeah, right there, look at that. So there we have 2.5. So, and that's not too bad. I thought it was perfectly square, but that paper really tells the truth. So now we can cut carefully. We'll follow our line and try to. It's really important to get this cut straight because if it's not cut straight, then your block for your anvil base, it wobbles around. It's really not nice when that happens. Every time I cut one of those for a chopping block, it's got a wobble in it. It makes me crazy. So hopefully this one will get it right. So that worked out really good. Now we got a really nice flat flush cut right there. Got rid of most of that checking there. So we'll paint the top of these, we'll beeswax these, bottom and top, and that'll slow down that drying process and prevent a lot of that checking. So now that we've got a nice clean edge right there, we can measure off, what do we have? What did we figure? 25 inches. 25 inches, we'll wrap our paper, make our second cut, and then we'll have the start of our block. Man, I enjoy this. This is what my favorite thing. Working with these big logs and making stuff out of them. From to taking it, it's always, of course, I mean, it's fun to buy lumber from the lumber yard and make something, a deck or a house, whatever. That's always fun. But it's just something a little bit different to be able to take it from a tree into something like those stairs. There's a lot of satisfaction in turning that log into those stairs, and it just kind of warms your heart every time you see it. All right, so if we pull off both sides, we should have, we're right at 25. So we want to be sure and leave the line. We don't want to cut this side of the line. We want to cut to the right of it. I'm going to use the big saw. That little saw, that's just too much on it, too much for it. It's getting hot, so we'll make short work of it. Don't you Brits say the proof is in the pudding, or actually the proof is in the eating of the pudding? Let's see how we did here. Pretty good, huh? Yeah. Can live with that. That's going to be much better. So when I started this thing this morning, I was going to do something really fancy and like do an octagon, or maybe even just square off the sides and just make it into a big rectangle. Or should I just leave it like it is and just fasten it down here and just leave it like that? It'd be nice not to take away any extra weight because it's so heavy and it's cut flat so it doesn't wiggle on the ground. Maybe forge a couple of big round collars. Heavy, some like 1/4-inch steel banding, and then with some bolts there and to hold everything together when it starts to crack and split a little bit. What do you think? Should we do something more to it, leave it like it is, or just leave it like it is and collar it, or slab it off into octagons or into a rectangle? Let me know in the comments what you think. If you want to see that, if you think that would be better, I'll give it a try. I'll just kind of be free-handed there. I won't do my best on it, but I kind of like the ideas of the collars and some big square-headed old school legs going in where you could tighten that up there and really hold that together. And this block I'll be able to use. I'm always looking for a bigger anvil. I always hit estate sales and garage sales and stuff, and one of these days I'm going to come across one and I'll get it. But I'll still be able to use this block because that anvil will even be taller, so we'll cut it down a little bit. Cut it down to whatever. Oh, I forgot to check it. Let's check it. Just do the knuckle check. All right, the old knuckle check. So come down straight here. I think it's about right. It's right about where I want it. Let's put a hammer on it, see how it feels. That's good. I can see why they do that now. But when the hammer comes down, your wrist is straight. So having it that angle feels good. Right on. So we just need to strap it down, and we will be we're ready to be making some tools. Before you move with your saw, get in the habit of activating your chain brake with your wrist like that. It's designed to do it that way. Pull back to release the brake, roll forward to engage it. Why that's designed that way is if it kicks back on you and your brake is not released, as it kicks back, it naturally engages the brake before it hits you, is the theory. But get in the habit, whenever you move, get your finger off the trigger, just like when you're shooting with a gun. Finger should not be on the trigger unless if you're not shooting, intending to shoot or intended to cut something. Get it off that trigger and simply engage that brake. Move, set up your cut, disengage your brake, make your cut, set your brake.
Well, that turned out pretty good. Now the age-old problem of how to mount the anvil to the stump. We'll go do that next. I'll take you out to the shop and we'll see if we can figure out a way. That anvil's pretty light. I think on a heavier anvil you wouldn't need to do a whole lot, but this one kind of jumps around a lot because it's... Someone asked how much it weighs. I'd say probably... I don't think it's much over 40 pounds. Not a very big one. But I think we can get it mounted down. So I'm really excited to show you the bees. We got lots of stuff going on. Mrs. Wranglerstar and I have finally kind of gotten caught up on all of the obligations we had. And we're going to have a lot more time to work in the garden. So we're going to be doing some back to Eden stuff, some wood chipping. Of course, harvesting time is coming pretty soon with blueberries and canning and cherries and raspberries and all those things. So we were talking about it yesterday. We're going to try to make an effort to be very deliberate and working together and spending some time together. And we'll be bringing you guys along for that too. Lots of stuff to do to get ready for the fall. It seems that it's... I don't know, maybe it seems a little early to get ready for the fall, but now's the time. Now's the time to start thinking about your firewood and canning and all those things. It'll be here before you know it. It's the way it is. It's the thing that makes, I guess the thing that makes life so tolerable is to be able to have the change of seasons, looking forward to bringing your firewood and filling up your pantry, or in the dead of winter looking forward to the spring and the summer and all of that. It's just the seasons just roll around at the perfect time. Just when you think you can't take any more snow or cold, then you always have the spring and fall to look, or the spring fall to look forward to, and all those changes. So God has planned it that way. It's a magnificent thing. I used to live in South Florida for a while. Work took me there as I had a job that caused me to travel. I was on the road a lot. And I remember Christmas Eve on South Beach. Was it South Beach? I don't remember if I was on the Gulf side or on the Atlantic side. I think I was. So anyway, it doesn't matter. But it was Christmas Eve and it was 80 degrees. I remember sitting on the beach watching the sunset, and I thought, you know what? This is just wrong. You should be in a cold place. You should have your Pendleton wool on and your sheepskin slippers on and sitting by a hot fire. I never liked that. Some people do. If you like that, there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just I just wasn't raised in that environment. It just didn't suit me very well. So I got to go back out to the shop. I'll bring my camera along and we'll wrap this up. I'll show you how we put it all together, and we'll see you guys on the next video.